Starting. All right, now we're live.
All right.
Okay. So our first question is when have you used different sources of power and influence?
Mm-hmm.
Like when do you think and of the eight sources that of the eight sources of power that we looked at, have you used any of those at all?
I have actually. I've actually used a few. Um, First one that I've used that I constantly use actually is the reward power. At my work, not only at work but outside of work. So, but mostly talking about work. Where I work, there's a lot of rewards, towards sales. So if we hit that certain sales goal, we get a reward, right? We get a little gift card, we get a gift, we get a bottle of wine, whatever the manager decides to reward us with. And it's very motivational. It motivates us to want to compete, to want to hit those goals, to make sales and all that. So that's one of the power that I've used. Um, Recently and a lot lately. Another one would also be, I would say, expert power, because I mean, there's many things that require for you to have certain skills, experiences, skills, and abilities to perform a certain task. So I'm not I'm not too skilled or too experienced in many things, but there are certain things that I am more skilled in and experienced than other people, in which I try to help them with, and in that way, performing the expert power on followers, and also other leaders that are not very skilled or experienced in those areas that I am. Another one I would say that I also do a lot, maybe I think it's the referent power, which like the textbooks talks about being more of a role model for others. And and I feel like I'm in that place, in that role of referring power and being a role model for others, due to I have younger friends than I have siblings, I have cousins, people that look at me be like, wow, he's gotten to this point, and I want to do exactly what he did, or I want to be like him, or I want, he's a great role model for me. He influences me to be a better person, to be a great leader, to study, to work hard, and all that. So I see a lot of that happening. Also, especially because my couple years ago, my job, I used to be a trainer, and a lot of people will look at me as a role model, will look at me as a leader, and would follow my steps in that way. And then I would say another one would be information power. Um, because any kind of leader, you have to give information out. So if you don't give information out, you lose your power. You're not doing your job as a leader. So you have to be constantly communicating, giving information out, and also receiving information, wanting to know about, and getting information from others, from your subordinates, your followers, and other leaders among you. So those four, I think, are the strongest ones that I have performed um, at work and in my personal life as well.
Okay, now, for me, um, I think like what I've witnessed like is coercive power. Like in a job that I worked road construction.
Hmm.
They would like constantly be like, if you don't do your job, you're gonna be demoted. You're gonna be a flagger,
Hmm.
which is like the worst job like that you could ever have like in the construction business.
Yeah.
And they would just always threaten with that. And so like that's obviously coercion power. And then reward power. Well, I have that now like at my job. Even if we just clock in 10 minutes early every day for our shift, at the end of the week we get $40 bonus
Hmm.
because so many people show up late or don't even show up to
Yeah.
work. It's like, and like when I had legitimate power as a manager and as a I ran a bakery.
Hmm.
Um and like I I had legitimate power there because I was in charge. Everyone listened to me because I had the power to tell them what to do. But with reward power there, I would like create incentives, like, all right, we're gonna have a competition. Whoever can prep this the fastest or prep this the fastest, here's a timer. Time yourselves. You have to have one witness that you did this, then they get gift cards or certain little goodie bags, just whatever. I mean, they didn't need anything too big. They're just doing their job at the fastest pace they should be doing it. And so I felt like that. Then referent power, I definitely had that. I feel like it's important to kind of be that role model and be like the voice of the people you're working with. Like a lot of times I'll see like people get in positions of management and just turn into such jerks and like not care about anyone. And I'm like, but that's not how you make people listen to you. That's not how you motivate people. And I feel like, you have to be that role model and show them you still care about them and gain those relationships. And yeah, I have like siblings and nieces and nephews and stuff. And I have to be a role model for them and be like, life can turn out this way or it can turn out this way. Like, this is the way you want it to turn out. But those are mine.
Nice.
I like you, I'm not like an expert in really I mean, baking, because I like ran a bakery and then I went to a different baking job. I'm like pretty good with baking, but like anyone can be good at baking. I didn't really see any need to. I mean, I guided people a little bit, but other than that, I didn't really see a need to be like. I don't have very much expertise in anything. So and those are the. Well, that's good. Then so at least we've both had some experience.
I've
in
never
the
been
different leadership.
I've never been really through any kind of coercive power. I see it kind of being negative. I don't know what you think about it, but the book also talks about like kind of a coercive power is kind of like being aggressive. And bad leadership. I kind of understood that. I would never want to be in that that kind of leadership style. But yeah, I just wanted to mention something that I've never been through. So
Yeah, I feel like it's very negative. I feel like it's like all based in threats, and I do not like that style. I would never involve in that style. Like, I don't work at that place anymore because it's horrible to live your life based on threats and work your job based on threats when your job becomes your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not really motivational at all. You don't motivate anybody to do better. You're punishing people behind it all. They make a mistake, they might be threatened to be demoted, and there's no motivation in it. I don't know how that would work out. But some people that really need the money, need the job, are just gonna let that happen to them and not really, try to find a new outcome to it, a better outcome, because they're just stuck in that place, Yeah.
It's true. A lot of people like at the job I worked at, they were like out, they were in prison, and this was the only job they could get.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because like Michigan, anyone who gets released from prison for the first 5 years, you're out of prison. Michigan, the state pays the company's money. Whoever hires any felon for the first 5 years out of prison, that company gets paid a certain amount of money. So like, and I'm sure this is why this company like hires them all, but then they get to stay at the company after their 5 years.
Yeah.
But they don't have any other place to go because no places hire felons anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're like, yeah, it's like they're stuck in that situation.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, what about like, have you ever even experienced ecological power?
I have not, because I read that ecological power has a lot to do with legitimate power. So I've never really been in a position of being a legitimate power. So
Mhm.
that's something I've never experienced at all. Yeah.
And you've never seen it either?
Um. Well, I have. I mean, for the examples that our textbook give us, judges, police officers,
Mhm.
teachers, and parents. Of course, we've all been through some there, not giving the power, but receiving it. From teachers and
Mhm.
parents and police officers and judges and all that. But um, I've never been in a position of giving that power, practicing that power at all. But being a victim of it, yes, of course. I wouldn't call it a
Yes.
victim, but being the person who's receiving the legitimate and ecological power, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. So then, our second, excuse me, our second topic is discuss ways in which cultural difference may influence the way we interact with, what's it say? Oh, leaders and employee power.
hmm
Let's see. So honestly, I think like culture differences are gonna influence the way we interact with leaders and employee power. It's just based on what we're used to seeing.
hmm
If we're used to seeing a certain type of power source of power being used, that's what we're gonna try to use because that's
hmm
what we see being used all the time. It's kind of like high culture and low, I mean, high distance and low distance
hmm
cultures, right? If I'm in a high distance um, culture, then I'm gonna take those leadership
hmm
qualities and put them in whatever situation I'm in, unless I'm under can try to understand
yeah,
the different cultures of the people I'm trying to
yeah,
work with.
yeah. Um, I think there's a lot of different cultures, and within those cultures, they do things completely different from others, right? So it's a different way of thinking, it's a different way of acting, of taking action. I would say it's a different way of talking and communicating and all that. So I've been through experience. Actually, I lived in China, so I got that to understand that culture, how they think, how they process, and how they do things. I'm actually Latin. I'm from Brazil, so I have my own culture, and I know how my people like to do things. And also, then I get the American culture, and just giving a little example of all of them. We all do things differently, like I mentioned in the beginning. So if you are in a position in a job that you have many, there's a big diversity, diversification in employees. We all have different cultures. um, it's not it's not easy, but it is good for the culture, for the business, of course. Um, but you have to have at least like a basic understanding of how to treat different cultures, right? Because some cultures are more difficult than others. So you need to know how to communicate, how to take actions, how to take that first step, so that no culture is being stepped on, nobody's getting hurt, that everybody's happy, and most importantly, that a company is growing and gaining success through it. So culture does influence a lot, the company, and especially the leader. I think leaders that have different cultures within their group um, are are the strongest. Are the ones that have the strongest group. So that's my thinking about it.
Yeah, and I just think like it's really important not to stereotype people. Like I see that all the time,
Yeah.
especially like where I'm from. Like we have honestly zero diversity.
hmm
Um, like for real, if you look at the Census Bureau, it's like 100% white people.
hmm
And so like if you get anyone from a different culture or ethnic group coming into the area I live in,
hmm
people immediately stereotype them and put them in a box.
Yeah.
And I think it's so difficult. Like I wish we had more diversity and more cultures in this area. But then I worked in a different area, and like it's a pretty bad area in Michigan.
No.
You probably and it was nice though, like because there was so much culture there,
Mhm.
and like you got to see so many different people and experience what they experience and exchange stories. And like I'm a girl, so I experience, especially in the construction industry, I experienced like discrimination. And then they talked about their discrimination they experienced. And then I'm like, well, this is what you have to do if you experience discrimination. And they're like, this is what you need to do if you experience discrimination. And we could like just share how to help. We could even help each other. It was so amazing. Like I would never have that in the community I'm from. But and like if I stereotyped them and was like, oh, I'm not going to talk to them, I'm not going to deal with them, that would have never happened, you know?
Yeah. I think we should always be open to different cultures and different traditions, and you know, we can just benefit. We can only benefit from it. We can only gain, so many positive things from it, and that's the way that, the path that businesses are taking nowadays, because they're looking for more diversity. They're looking for more. They're hiring people from the outside of the country just to, have that, how to say, that advantage over other companies, right? So the more diverse, the more cultures you have within your group, your company, the more steps you are in front of your competition. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The more diverse people you have, the bigger demographic you can
Yeah,
reach.
exactly.
Yeah. All right, so we reached our time. Do you have anything else to add?
No, nah, I'm good right now.
No. All right, sweet. All right, and I'll submit this. I'll put mine and your names on
Sounds
it.
good.
All right.
Thank you, Amy. Have a good
All
night.
right. Yep.
Bye.
Yep. See you next
See you.
Monday or Sunday.